Hi, welcome to 2021. Happy New Year. If this is the first time you are watching this in 2021, we are very excited to bring you Jyoti from Books for Africa. And in this show, we're connecting the rest of the world to Africa through books. So, Kazeem, I'm super excited about this. What about you?
I am too. So we're going to be learning a lot from Jote today. So please sit back and have a good time with myself, Sam, and Jote. You're welcome. It's our first episode of the Africa Talks Tech this year, 2021. And today on the show, we're going to be connecting with Africa. We're going to be connecting to Africa with the power of books, and not just books today. So we're also going to be looking at healthcare with our very good friend and brother, Jote Taddese. So you're very much welcome on the show today, Jote.
Thank you so much, and absolutely, it's a pleasure for me to join you today, and thank you for inviting me.
Okay, so my name is Kazeem Adegwega. I work as the director of the LASO CBT here in Lagos, Nigeria. And I also have my very good friend and partner on the show with me, Sam. It's over to you now, Sam.
Oh, hi, I'm Samuel Erskine, or just Sam. I'm based out in the UK. I'm head of cloud engagements for a large organization, and I decided to team up with my brother in Nigeria to bring you the best of Africa wherever it is. So today, very excited to have Jyoti with us, and without giving too much away with my own introduction, I'd just like to ask you, Jyoti, if you can give us a little background about yourself and share a little bit more about your current role today.
Absolutely. Thank you once again. My name is Jote Taddese. I'm an African diaspora that is living and working in the US and Minnesota. I'm born and raised in East Africa by way of Oromia, Ethiopia, and Nairobi, Kenya. So pretty much grew up playing soccer on the streets of East Africa. And the Midwest has been home away from home for me for over 25 years now. I grew up in the technology space, both academically and professionally. Currently, I work for a large healthcare organization as a vice president for platforms, architecture, and engineering strategies.
Okay, Jote. So thank you very much. So I see you're the vice president of Books for Africa, right? So I want to ask you, Jote, how did Book for Africa start, and how did you get involved?
Absolutely. Books for Africa is, first of all, the largest shipper of text and library books to the entire African continent. It's a nonprofit organization that is actually born and bred right here in St. Paul, Minnesota, have been around for 32 years. As a matter of fact, the year 2020 has been a pivotal year for us because we achieved having shipped 50 million books, reaching all the 55 countries across the continent. So I've had the pleasure to serve Books for Africa as a volunteer to begin with. I got to be introduced with Books for Africa, a project that I started working, a library project that I've been working. And then from volunteer, I became a board member. From a board member, I became a board president. And currently, after I finished my tenure as as a board president, I was asked to serve as the director for the diaspora engagement.
Wow. Big man, you know what I mean? It's like I won't want to take you on the football field. Actually, I think I can. But so we're talking about Books for Africa. I guess Kazeem, you've got a much more interesting question for Jyoti now that he's warmed up, right?
Yeah, sure. I was going to check. I see you mentioned you have it all across Africa, so that means Nigeria is also included. Am I correct? Wow. Okay. So talking Books for Africa now, Jote, what kind of books are we talking about here? Are they just books talking about African culture, or are these books with different genre?
Yes, so taking a couple of steps back, right? The Books for Africa process is really, it's a demand-driven process, right? And we work closely with recipients, communities, libraries, schools, universities in various parts of Africa who have a demand and need for books. And we have a book order form, actually. We make sure that they get the books that they want, and we work with them in terms of making sure that the type of books they receive are relevant and beneficial for the end users, right? So the books we typically focus on are, these are all the way from children's reading books all the way to university level books. We ship 22,000 books at a time. That is a 40-foot sea container of books at a time. So, and we ship over a little over 3 million books a year. And so really when it comes to logistics and shipping and freight and all that the process, we've done it, we know it very well. The books are categorized according to what grade level, age levels, and then subject areas as well. And so we really try to accommodate all the topical areas of interest that our recipients are interested in. We've shipped to community libraries, we've shipped to colleges, universities. We do have a law and democracy program where we ship law libraries to universities as well.
That's fantastic. And for somebody that grew up with the British Council Library, so as a kid in Ghana, I was a bookworm. You know, my dad had to get me out of the room. I forgot to eat. And I know today's kids, it's not the same. They live in the digital world where everything has to be instantaneous. And even I have switched to audiobooks. I mean, I love audiobooks. I tell people I consume 2 to 3 books a month. I do that because somebody's technically reading to me. It's much easier, it's lighter for me. So as we look forward, what are the plans for Books for Africa in terms of digitizing the content or using digital channels? Is that on the radar?
Absolutely. As a person who went to school to study computer science and been working in the IT industry, you could imagine that, you know, the whole concept of digital literacy would be very exciting to me. And that's actually one of the reasons I was also attracted to Books for Africa. I think the need for physical books it will be there in our generation and our kids' generation. You know, earlier I said 50 million books to a continent of 1.2, 1.3 billion people. There are 500 million kids in Africa, and you know what we've done so far is really a drop in the ocean, right? And we know there's a lot of work to be done. I think there is something to be said about the inherent experience of holding a book and reading a book. But to your point, how do we accelerate the dissemination of information and knowledge and content in a way that enables us to really scale our impact? And digitalization is really an effective way. I also have the pleasure of leading the Books for Africa digital strategy. Wow. And what that really means is, you know, the mission of Books for Africa, very simple, very compelling, which is to end the book famine in Africa. But at the same time, without really changing our mission and vision, how do we come up with a complementing digital strategy in such a way that we can connect with today's digital content consumers, the population, the youth that is growing by leaps and bounds? So yes, the digital way of reaching our customers through existing devices that they already interact with, you know, mobile smartphones and tablets and so forth. In fact, we ship digital books as of a few years ago. So making sure that we get digital content in the hands of students and kids is part of our priority as well. But it all depends on what the needs of the recipients are. If they ask us for books, we make sure that we get them books. If they ask us for desktops and laptops with educational materials loaded on them, we deliver that.
I absolutely
Oh,
agree. And I
okay.
know Kazeem is going to go in just a second because I realized that I had part of the answer. I wanted to figure out how I can get the two there. So I love physical books. I went through a period where every digital book I bought, I ordered a physical book as well because I still like to have it. So digital was convenient. Now, when I look at Africa, I know doing my research on you, your first project was building a library in your local town, right? So when I'm thinking about blending the two, where not everybody may have a computer or a tablet, um, could possibly one of the approaches be putting digital devices loaded with books? So if they went in and they wanted to do some research, it's easier than trying to expect somebody to take 5, 6 books, which may not be practical. So that's where I was angling for. So is that something that's also within your roadmap in terms of, at least digitizing the institutions that they go to?
Absolutely. And you could imagine the amount of content that is currently even being produced by local people, in various parts of Africa. And much of that has not been digitized and yet to be digitized. Think
Mhm.
of the local storytellers, the cultural encyclopedias that are walking around amongst us, our, parents and our great grandparents. All that has not been captured and really preserved. And I think digital means of capturing those and really digitizing and passing it over to the next generation, we have a real opportunity. We do have a real opportunity. But from your question, yes, building digital libraries is really one of my core aspirations as being part of Books for Africa. And I envision every community, every rural community across Africa having a digital library where students and kids actually can come in and engage digitally with the rest of the world. And I don't think that time is that far away from us. I believe the
Mhm.
technology that is needed is already around us. It's a question of those of us who understand the local cultures and heritages and who have the background, the right context, to stitch all that technology together and actually make it work.
Yes,
Excellent. Thank
thank
you.
you for that response, yeah, Jote. I think we should switch gears a little bit now. Remember when we started, we did mention that we're going to also be looking at healthcare. We're not just going to be talking about books now with Jote, because Jote is also the vice president of Raleigh Health. Am I correct, Jote?
Correct.
Yes, and he's also the co-founder of Diaspocare. So, for the benefit of those who are not familiar with Diaspocare now, can you please tell us a little bit more about Diaspocare and how it works?
Absolutely. Um, Diaspocare is, when you look at the core mission and vision of Diaspocare, I think every diasporan who has ever lived outside of their home countries will connect to it right away. Here is the core essence of it. Those of us who have lived away from our home countries, globally, we have one thing that we have in common, which is we share social and moral responsibilities to help our loved ones that we left behind, our family members and our extended families. And the sure one way that we do that is by sending money back home, right?
Yeah.
Remittance. Over $65 billion that have been remitted by African diasporans globally back to sub-Saharan Africa just last year. That's the estimation. And now, those of us also who are taking care of the specific needs of our loved ones. For example, if my aunt from back home calls me and says, son, I haven't been feeling well. I have been told that I have diabetes and I need to take this medication. I know that auntie is calling me so that she needs money. 10,000 miles being away, I'm already emotionally distressed. The one thing that I can do is go to the nearest Western Union or MoneyGram and send that money right away.
Yeah.
Or if I know somebody who's traveling back home next week, I would actually give them cash in the name of my aunt and her phone number and say, can you please hand it to her, right?
Yeah.
Now, But I have no guarantee that that money that I send is going to be entirely used for the medication needs and healthcare needs of my aunt. Maybe she has other life priorities. Maybe there is food to be put on the table. Maybe there is school supplies to be purchased for the kids, right? But my desire is for my aunt to be well and to stay healthy. So Diaspocare, the vision was, how do we enable diasporans to actually have purposeful healthcare remittance? Instead of auntie calling me, my aunt can walk into the neighborhood pharmacy, pick up her medication, and tell the pharmacist that I have somebody who can pay for me. And the pharmacist would just flip their phone and actually look my information up, dispense the medication, and I get a notification that says, your aunt just picked up her prescription. Now, there's a lot that's happening behind the scene. Diaspocare is a digital platform, a mobile platform that enables diasporans to actually create their account, enroll as many family members as they want that they want to help. And it also allows local pharmacies to be able to be part of the platform and to be local healthcare service providers. So basically what we do is we bring the diasporans, the payers, and these local service providers, in this case the pharmacies, into a platform. In the middle is the beneficiaries, our families and loved ones who actually have a way to get to access to medication that they need in an expedited fashion. So I'm giving you 100,000-foot level of what the platform does, but there is so much behind it, and we're absolutely excited about it. It's been, I co-founded this organization about almost 8 years ago, working with other fellow diasporans who felt that we have to have a solution that's going to cater to the diasporans, that is created for the diasporans, ultimately benefiting Africa as a whole.
Okay. And how are the people back here in Africa accepting it now? All people are, responding to. Are they using the product really well, the way you expected things to go?
Yeah. So we have a working product that is in the market currently, and we started with a proof of concept several years ago, and we started in Nigeria. And we recruited local pharmacies and worked with Nigerian diasporans because we wanted to make sure that we prove out the business model. It's a fairly complex model, right? There is the payment piece, there is the healthcare piece, and there is also the piece making sure that the right beneficiaries are on the platform, and then making sure that transactions are running and visibility, traceability is in place as well, right? Because what we want to do is we want to provide the visibility for diasporans that what pharmacy is selling, what kind of medication to which one of their relatives for how much. Information that we've never had before, because in the past, we send the money, 200, 300, 500 or more dollars, right? And then we hope that they're putting it to the right use. We've done the proof of concept for a couple of years in Nigeria. We turned around, we took all of our learnings, we re-architected the platform, and we deployed a pilot in Ghana. And we've been in Ghana for the last couple of years now, about 100 pharmacies that are part of the platform. And we also took our learnings from our Ghana pilot program and re-architected it and deployed it in Kenya. So we've been in Kenya for over a year now. And we work with about 75 pharmacies in Kenya. And we hope to scale pretty soon because, like I said, it's a fairly complex business model. We want to make sure that we're collecting feedback and we're incorporating into the platform. And we want to provide the best user experience. Most importantly, we want to provide that peace of mind to the diasporans that their loved ones are taken care of.
Yeah. So Sam, hope you're using Diaspocare.
Well, thanks for that. Thanks for that segue, right? I could lie to you and say, yes, I am. I wouldn't. But I am going to, because it leads me into my next question. And to wrap all of this up, actually, this Diaspocare, and for the benefit of those that don't know the meaning of the word, I think we've implied it, but I've heard it. I was confused at the beginning. It simply means an African that's no longer living in Africa and has gone to another land. And, I was telling Kazeem previously that, you can take the African out of Africa but you can't take the African out of the African wherever they are, right?
The global people of African descent that live outside of Africa. Absolutely, that's the very, very meaning of a diaspora.
Exactly. So you're solving this problem in the medical area, and it's actually so great now that I've heard you explain it, because we've had the same challenge with sending money for people to build houses for us, going to get food or whatever it is. And this concept, regardless of even scaling in the pharmaceutical side of things, it has such a broad application. I'm excited just thinking about it. So we will call this show part one because it won't end. So we're hoping to continue with this. So my question to yourself is really, as somebody that you've just literally inspired beyond your profile, right? How does it, somebody that's a global citizen of Africa, so I don't have to try and pronounce that long D word, right? Get involved with this. How do we contribute, and how do we connect with people like yourself to make sure that it is appropriate? Because we're all skilled, we've got all of this talent. So where do I start?
Absolutely, and I think it's important to have the broader context, even for those who are interested in being part of this. There are three major pillars within the pharmaceutical space that Diaspocare wants to tackle. One is the issue of medication availability, right? And how many of us know that there are many cities and towns within Africa where people walk from street to street looking for the medication that they need, oftentimes not finding and going back home. Second one is medication affordability. And again, even if the medications are available, an exuberant number of people within Africa can simply not afford the basic healthcare needs that they have. So over 100 million people get sucked into the cycle of poverty every year simply because they cannot afford the basic healthcare costs. The third one is medication quality. Even if there are medications, I'll give you statistics. 2019, over 40% of all medications sold within sub-Saharan Africa was counterfeit. This is from WHO. Counterfeit medication. So our loved ones and family members are purchasing medication because simply they think it's cheaper, right? But really taking medication that either harms them or does nothing for them. So those diasporans really knowing that if you are involved in providing healthcare services and assistance for your families, we believe that this is the right solution for you. Not only that, the cost of remitting money today is very expensive. Mm-hmm. And we all know that. And one of our core objectives within Diaspocare is how do we make it as affordable as possible? And enabling that micro payment. If the medication cost for my aunt is $5 or $2, Diaspocare allows you to send that $2. So the $500 that you used to send to one person, now that can go a long way. You can start to support your extended family members. Talk about healthcare inclusion. It really, really makes sense. And
excellent.
I can contact information, and those who are interested can reach out to me directly with regards to Diaspocare.
Oh, excellent. We'll put something out in the communication we send after this. And I suppose we try and be respectful of our audience. We know it's very early for you in the morning. So I'm going to let Kazeem start the wrap up. And I have a little surprise for you because I can't let you come on the show without me putting on a surprise.
All right. So thank you so much, Jote, for coming on the show with us today. So we'd like this to continue, but this is how much time we've got today on the show. So I think I would pass it on to Jote still for any parting words before we say goodbye. And before Sam comes up with a surprise now.
Well, first of all, this has been a tremendous opportunity, and I really appreciate you guys for providing this time. I guess my parting words I would say is, as a diasporan living in the West, I believe that the time for the global African people of African descent to unite has come. And it is utterly very important for us to connect the dots and connect with one another, really understand what is it that we're doing, because the cause that we're pursuing when it comes to Books for Africa, really building the knowledge economy of the continent, building the knowledge economy of Africa, cannot be done just by few. It requires the mobilization and the organization of the global African diaspora. We want you to engage. We cannot do it without you. Diaspocare is made by diasporans for diasporans, and be part of it. We invite you to be part of it.
Fabulous. And this is so great. So from my side, we've already started. We did it by accident. I actually went to speak in Ghana in 2015. That's when I met Kazeem for the first time. And he's based out in Nigeria, and we've bridged the gap, right? So currently our contribution is actually opening the window and getting people to connect. Now, you're not going to get away that easily with questions that you can answer. Here's your little test. In an interview that I watched of yours, you said you had great skill in building footballs using carrier bags. Can you still do that today where you are, or have you evolved beyond it?
Oh my goodness. Yes. Necessity becomes the mother of invention, right? And the environment that I grew up in was very, soccer, football was just part of our DNA in the very fabric of the environment, the community that I grew up in. Yes, I grew up in an environment where we didn't have much resources to go out and buy, brand new soccer balls so that we can play. And we started collecting plastic bags from the streets, and actually being creative in molding them and shaping them in shape of a soccer ball by combining fire, actually charcoal fire, and melting those plastic bags. And that has been one of the most memorable childhood time for me. And most importantly, that's when I learned the key lessons about leadership. But when we form teams, and you can relate to this, Sam, that captains get to choose their team members. And when you choose your team members, you think about who is the best defense, who is the best goalie, who is the best forward, who is the best, right wing and left wing, because you're forming a strong team, a winning team in your mind. And that's what we do today in the corporate world. That's what we do today in the entrepreneurship world, that we bring a collection of individual strengths that can create a winning team. And it really does translate.
That's so fabulous. And I just want to add that I partly knew the answer to it. And I want to address it wrong, right? Because this has been an emotive side for me. Most of the time when people have looked at Ethiopia, they've looked at hunger on the streets, right? And I'm a big fan that when I grew up, I used to play softball as well. And even if you could afford trainers, everybody played barefoot so that nobody felt excluded, right? That has been presented as though we're all poor, but I've never known a poor man in Africa that doesn't laugh every day. So what I'm trying to say is we agree that we need to help the continent and push it, but our greatest export has been on this call, regardless of the day that we have in laughter, caring for each other, and showing that we can be creative amongst whatever challenge gets thrown at us has been a key strength. So I'm so glad you've come on here, a son of Ethiopia, and we're looking to connect even more. So thank you very much for your presence today. And this is only the beginning. So Kazeem, you normally do the long shout.
So a big thank you again to you, Jote, for coming on the show, for spending some time with us today on the show. So again, this is how much time will permit us today on the show. So I think at this junction, we're going to say goodbye to you. And so let's do this again another time.
I definitely look forward to it. Kazeem, Sam, wonderful show, and I look forward to further interactions with you. This is the very meaning of building a bridge between Africa and the diaspora, and you guys are charting the path. So I'm excited and I look forward to it. And thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Take care,
Thank
guys.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.